Hey, Reviews and Done. Who's giving you a dose this week?
What's going on, world? Once again, it's your boy Derek Dunn back with another A1 Top 5. So Father's Day is approaching, so I want to do a little bit something different. I wanted to bring on a fellow Black Greek, member of the Divine Nine, a fellow member in Wafka and Ask With Me, and HCA, and that's my man Jedi Mike. So I was going back and forth on what I wanted to have Mike on for. I've known Mike for the last couple of years through screenings and everything, but he's never actually joined the Reviews and Done interview. It's his first time, so let's give him a round of applause and welcome him. And I figured, correct me if I'm wrong, he's not a dad yet, but he's a mentor. So it's kind of close enough in the Black community. Y'all know how we get down. So welcome to the line,
Absolutely.
sir. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to chop it up. And let's get right into it. But I think it's only fitting before we get into it that give us a quote. And that quote is from arguably our favorite president, one of the greatest men that I know that I've never actually met, and that's Mr. Barack Obama. And that quote is, "My mother gave me identity, but my father gave me dreams." And that's from his book, Dreams from My Father. So when we think about cinema dads, as you all know, I had mentors, but never really grew up, didn't know my dad growing up. But there's always people that I look to in cinema who I think are just tied to my own journey as a man and how I shaped my own parenting, even though my son's finna turn 18. It's always been these are the examples that I want to set. So Mike and I can give you our top five and possibly some honorable mentions. And number five is actually the only white guy to make the list. No shade, but it's the only white guy to make the list. I chose all brothers. No shade to nobody else, but this is the only white guy to make the list. And my number five is going to be Jim's dad, Eugene Levy from the American Pie series. Now, the reason why I chose Mr. Levinstein was because, well, um, when you think about all the shenanigans that Jim got into in these movies, who was the one that always was there for him? His dad. This man did some questionable things with the pie in the first one. In the second one, he had an incident with super glue. And in the third one, he almost bombed his proposal. But who's always there for him, never judging him, never roasting him? His dad. So my number five is Mr. Levinstein, portrayed by Eugene Levy from the American Pie series. Mike, who's your number five?
Number five, I'm going to say, um, this is again stay on trend here, but I'm going to say Darth Vader. Um, and
Wow.
the reason I'm saying that is that I feel that much as a father it can be a great leader. I think also just terms of, his abilities, his mannerisms, personality, a lot of that could pass down to your children. But I think, and also as much as we are, you know, called to, to raise our children, I think is also where our children and we can learn some from them, right? And I feel like where Darth Vader was in the part where he was seemed irredeemable, but his son was the one that saved him, and then he ended up basically, saving his son at the end of Return of the Jedi. And I felt like with that, it's kind of like that was more of just of the symbiotic, circle of life of father to son. And I felt like even though that he might have been absent of his life or didn't know he exists or blah blah. But I felt in terms of the importance of what he represented of like, hey, am I like my father? Because your father has some darkness to him, and and I had that push and pull about the good sides and the bad sides of your father, and realizing also is like, hey, there's still some good in you, dad, and then he discovers that with himself because of his son. So and, um, and yeah, and I just felt like that's yeah, number five.
All right, number four, we're gonna stay into the comedy genre. So number four, I'm going with the late great John Witherspoon, and that's Pops from the Friday series. So John Witherspoon is another interesting choice. again, he stood by his son in the first one. Granted, he was trying to kick him out, but I'm at that point now to where it's like, yo, you're getting older, get out of my house. But what did he teach him how to do? He taught him how to fight. And if you guys remember on Friday, when Craig is fighting Debo, one of my favorite lines from that film is where his mom's trying to interact, and he says, "No, hold on, I taught him better than that. Give him a minute. He's gonna get up. He's gonna, handle Debo." And the second one, he Debo's breaking out. What does Pops do? Yo, man, Debo's breaking out. He's probably highly, highly upset. Let's go to somewhere else in California. Takes him to California to get him away from that. When he hears that Debo actually broke out and is looking for him, he turns right back around, goes to save his son. And in the last one, Friday after next, Greg's on the run. He leaves his post as a security guard. What does his pops do? He hides him. So number four is Mr. Jones, the late great John Witherspoon from the Friday trilogy. Mike, who's your number four?
Number four, I'm actually gonna say this is actually more of a biopic film, but I felt just his performance really was powerful for that, and it'll be Chris Gardner, played by Will Smith, in The Pursuit of Happiness, and I felt like as that film represents, the life of Chris Gardner, but um, just that having his actual son Jaden with them in that role, I think will definitely, even though that yes, he had range, I felt that was one of his most iconic roles that he has taken his career on a dramatic level of showing just terms of the grit and the willingness not to give up, even when, even with the known family members, give up on you. He didn't give up. He never gave up on his child. And just in the circumstances of life is also kind of relatable for some people today, especially in this, American economy that we're in right now. So just, I felt like he was definitely representative of a father willing to do anything just to, provide a life for his child, but also, to just not give up even when times are hard. And that representing that symbol of adversity in family, in which really the head of that family being the father and having his son watch that in real time, and all of its vulnerabilities of himself and everything in front of his child. That was good. So yeah, Chris Gardner, Pursuit of Happiness.
All right, so kind of got to steal some of Mike's thunder. So I actually have Chris Gardner from Pursuit of Happiness at number three. And again, being a father, I became a father 2 years after The Pursuit of Happiness came out. So some of my followers, you all know that Isaiah went through chemo when he was, first born, or no, chemo in 2009. So just that struggle, trying to get better and trying to go through adversity. The Pursuit of Happiness hits on so many levels, and it's two of the strongest scenes in that film are the bathroom scene where somebody's banging on the door and he breaks down crying, and the scene where he's trying to get to the shelter and the only thing his son has is the action figure, and his son drops the action figure and it breaks his heart, and Will's like, we can't turn around, like, yo, we need somewhere to stay tonight, we have to get to the place that we're going to. So shout out to Will. That arguably is one of his best performances, probably top three, like Mike said, in terms of acting. I do think that if Forrest Whitaker had been nominated for Last King of Scotland, Will might have won that year, but that's a whole other conversation. So shout out to Will Smith. My number three, Chris Gardner, Pursuit of Happiness. Mike, who's your number three?
Number three, it's actually going to be, I think it was also from any medium like television, but for me, but I'm actually going to keep this for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Uncle Phil. When someone is not your biological father, but still, taking that role up there, and being a father for a child or for a child that didn't have a father in his life and filled in that void. I felt he did a good job and much, through many different seasons on that show. The ups and downs and the situations with Will, and but also the comedic nature of it. But even then, regardless of that, he provided a life for him. And again, that one episode when his father came back to his life and just only there just to have, time with them and then leave, and he was there to comfort Will. Like that's one of the most iconic scenes. Again, another part in Will's career. It's like, no, why don't my dad love me? But like his actual dad was the one covering, no, comforting him. And then when at the final episode, he says, "No, goodbye, son. You know, you're my son." So yeah, I think Uncle Phil definitely was definitely one of the most iconic fathers in media. But yeah, number three, Uncle Phil.
All right, so you guys have heard three choices of our top five in cinema. But for every good dad, there's a bad dad. So for the bad dads, for our quick commercial
Hmm.
break, I had to go over to my man Edward Bowser over at Soul and Stereo. So Ed's gonna give us those bad dads, those three dads that are just terrible. So Ed, over to you. All right, that was Mr. Edward Bowser giving us three trash dads in cinema. Mike and I are back. We're moving through the lists. And I kind of wanted to pivot really quick because Mike brought up some TV dads, and it's like the older you get when you become a parent and you start seeing things through different lens, you kind of want to look back on, you know, was this dad really an asshole or was he right the entire time? And I think one of the biggest debates in Mellon entertainment field is going to be Frank Mitchell from Moesha. Now, I'm only going here because Mike brought up a TV dad, and when you think about Frank, I guess being a father myself, being 45 now, I don't think Frank was that bad. I think Frank was just kind of old school,
Yeah,
but I do blame the writers for what they did to Frank in the later seasons, bringing in Ray J, Dorian, his secret son. I think that was just a little bit far-fetched. And again, there's nothing wrong with a storyline like that, but it could have maybe been handled more more organic. And I don't know if Mike's thinking what I'm thinking, but I'm thinking maybe you had it to where it's Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank is young. He's 17, 18, college, promiscuous, does his thing, and he doesn't know that Dorian's his son. And it's maybe something like a storyline to where Dorian needs an organ transplant and Frank happens to be a match. The mom comes back, she tells Frank, he's your son. I didn't tell you because I wanted you to live your life, didn't want you to know, but thank you for saving our son. Had they gone that route, I think it may have been received better because the writers built Frank up for 4 or 5 seasons as like, this good black man, stern, but a good black man. And then you come in and you want to do all that. So that's why I can kind of see why folks, give Frank a bad rap. But being a father of a soon to be 18-year-old, again, I don't think Frank was that bad. I just think he was old school. And I think the writers kind of ruined his character those last couple seasons. What are your thoughts on Mr. Frank Mitchell, Mike, since we did a quick little pivot?
um, yeah, I was very young when that show was out, and but I didn't really, I remember like just in terms of media attention around that, and just when that moment of that's one of the most popular moments of Moesha. Was with that. And I think as you now as a critic, you're seeing on a consistent basis of structured story and storytelling how to properly build up a climax of a character's arc and doesn't seem um completely left field or feel like, oh no, their seeds are planted. Just the way he was acting around, Ray J's character and Dorian and also like that, right? It's like no, 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 no. That was completely left field, and the audience felt that because it felt like, all right, well, we don't know what to do with this character. Um, let's just spice up the show a little bit, Uh, so let's just drop that in there, not knowing the impact it will have. But yeah, I agree with you that it just you know of other ways of writing a way to make it more, I don't want to say realistic because yeah, there's people that keep secrets from their children, even their own wives and everything like that, but to that extent and how it happened, and it just felt like yeah, definitely someone came in the writer's room like, hey, I got an idea. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna keep moving along, and there's gonna be another hot take that's coming later on after I get before we turn number one. But my number two, I was actually going back and forth on who I wanted for number two, but again, being a father of being a father of a soon to be 18-year-old, being a dad who went through years of having seen a son in the hospital, never staying long, but just actually dealing with medical bureaucrats, just the insurance game. Number two is
Uh,
John Q. Archibald, Denzel Washington from, of course, John Q. Yeah. So when you think about John Q, quick little bit of trivia. He actually supposedly, I think they said that he shot John Q before training day, and they held off train. They held John Q back so it wouldn't affect his Oscar chances for training day. But John Q, yeah. So we all know the plot. But this is a man willing to do anything and everything to protect his son, to get his son better, even willing to possibly commit suicide to give his son his heart. And you can sit up here and say that John Q was follows the formula, but Denzel fully sells the material. Kimberly Elise fully sells that material. The young king that plays Mike, his name escapes me right now, he fully sells that material. And if you don't get misty eyed in that last scene when he's talking to him, he's basically telling his son what to do when you become a man. Just, I get choked up just thinking about it because Denzel is just so in the moment selling that material. So number two, Denzel Washington is John Q. Archibald from John Q. Mike, who's your number two?
my number two, and we're gonna get into non-humans, it'll be animals or mammals, whatever your amphibians, whatever you want to call it. Um, it'll be Marlin, Marlin for Finding Nemo. Um, and I was saying as a dad who was also a single father after also coming out of tragedy, um, and now he's raising Nemo on his own, but he's very overprotective. And then over the course of that, film, not only just searching for his son, but also learning how to let go and and knowing because of not to let that fear and trauma of losing his mother to be passed down to his child, allowing his child not to be like this helpless, innocent, person. He's like, no, 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 he needs to grow on his own. So when he go through situations, he know how to handle himself. But at the same time, you see a father trying to go and save his son. So it was one of the best Pixar films, definitely ones you can look back to in terms of like top 10 um, Pixar films of all time. But um, definitely Marlon, exemplified that even for me as a child watching that film. So yeah.
What up, players? It's your boy Ed from SoulandStereo.com, and I'm here with the absolute worst dads on TV and film. Ego from Guardians of the Galaxy. Dude wanted to take over the universe by impregnating the universe. Just nasty. Stannis Baratheon of Game of Thrones. Dude burnt up his child because a witch told him so. Player, please. Show Tucker from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. He turned his daughter into this. Call the cops.
All right, so I told y'all for week number one, a hot take was coming, and this is kind of the hot take. So we got to do honorable mention, and honorable mentions. I thought about throwing Marlon in there. Thought about throwing Fawcett in there, even though you all know that I detest the Lion King. Hot take, but I just couldn't go with an animal because there's too many fathers that are on screen that I look to now, what I'm going through, and he almost made the list. And my number two, I'm sorry, my honorable mention before my number one is going to be another Denzel performance, and that's Troy from Fences. Now, y'all can sit up here and say that Troy was a bastard, and Troy was a bastard. But again, Troy was old school, and Troy was so tough on his son because Troy's dreams had been deferred, and he didn't know any better. And even back in that time in 2026, the world's a tough place. And the reason why Troy was so tough on his son was because he had that mindset: if you can survive me, you can survive the world. And that whole monologue about how come you never liked me, and then it's going back and forth, that is some of the realest shit that I've ever heard on screen. It's like, I don't gotta like you. I gotta take care of you, but I don't have to like you. So he almost made the list, but I don't have two Denzels in my top five. I wanted to kind of mix it up, but he definitely honorable mention for Troy from Fences. So Mike, you have honorable mention? Who didn't make your list?
Yes, I'm gonna stand on animals here. Um, it's Buck, who is a chicken from Chicken Little. Um, that dad, who's also single father, raising his son, and his son getting in a lot of situations he feel like he has to answer for him. But then there was again to the conflict when the son come like, Dad, you're never there for me. Like, I need you just to believe in me, whatever. You're never there for me. And then that turning point, and then the film, when the conflict, alien invasion, all that stuff, he's there for his son, right? And knowing that his son don't have to be a carbon copy of himself, but at the same time, don't feel like you have to be disappointed or ashamed of your son when your child is literally just asking you simply, "Can you just believe me?" You know, and just be there for me. Um, and um, and then I think that was to me was like I didn't get that till later, like understanding like what Chicken Little with that, but I always never forgot about that. Um, and I thought that was very good writing for that. So mention is Buck from Chicken Little.
All right. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed us chopping it up. But now we're to that number one spot, the number one dad in cinema. And I'm pretty sure you guys know where I'm going to go with my number one choice. But I think Mike does too. But without a doubt, drum roll, please. The number one dad in cinema for your boy Derek Dunn is going to be the incomparable Fury Styles from Boys in the Hood. Now, I often say that I really didn't grow up with a father. Like, I had a stepfather, had plenty of positive male role models. And I do remember my stepdad, rest in peace, taking me to see Boys in the Hood. And when he was around, some of those life lessons that he was trying to impart on me, or a lot of that stuff, was what Furious was telling Trey. From the doing the chores to the using a rubber to the just being alert. The fishing scene, the scene after Ricky gets killed and he's just looking at him and he's like really he's talking to him like he's a man. Like, you're not a little boy anymore. You are a man. And just the look on Cuba's face where he's distraught over his best friend dying, but Furious is talking to him like he's a man. And then he's gonna get through to him and then he's gonna comfort him. But yeah, Furious is arguably the greatest for me, the greatest presentation of a black father on screen. The entire film, he's real, he's on point. Mind you, that they're only 7 years apart, I think, in age and in real life, but that relationship comes across as organic. Even their last scene together, when Trey comes home, we all know that he didn't do what everybody else did, and Furious just looks at him, doesn't say anything, and it's almost like everything that I've taught you, you've erased that in one single night. And we don't find out if they ever mended their relationship, and we don't need to. No, I mean, I'm pretty sure they mended it, but the way Johnson ended that was just the look on Furious's face, and he slams the door. You're a man now, and you're gonna have to earn my respect back as a man. So definitely number one, Lawrence Fishburne as Fury Styles, Boys in the Hood. Mike, who's your number one?
Number one, I was gonna say, but when you mentioned earlier, Mufasa. I'm gonna say Mufasa. And yes, this is kind of going to the whole Disney side of like, oh, a parent's, death leading to the origin story of a character. But what you represent in terms of what the father figure of the guidance, the leadership, the respect, but also the the every time he's on screen, he commands a presence. But where and you viewing him, yes, he's a lion, he's a king, but also just think of that of how your child is viewing you, right? And the responsibility that you're looking, everything the light touches is ours, right? And your child just is naive of the world, doesn't know, hey, where's the dangers are, what's left or right, and yet you're guiding them. And you also know the responsibility that you have not only for yourself but for your children to grow into people they're destined to be. And but then when he's gone, even then in the afterlife, that the father is still saying, like, you are my son, remember who you are. Right. Um, and those things, like, I don't want you to be me. When you see reflection, yes, you are my son, but you're also Simba, right? And yet, I live on through you. When my time on this earth is done. So, yeah, and I feel like just in terms of all of the archetypes of a strong, protective father, even going out trying to, fight for him and save him in danger. Um, Definitely, he's on the list for me. most iconic fathers in all of cinema, even in animation. But Mufasa.
Cool, cool, respect. So usually I don't do this because again, y'all know that I'm not a fan of The Lion King outside of the play. The play is something different type of experience, and I did like the prequel. But
Yeah.
just since Mike, we talked about Fresh Prince, and I just you guys know my mind pivots to different places numerous times. But thinking about the Fresh Prince episode, I think it was season 4, where Will they hustle Jazz playing cards, and the whole setup for the joke is that yeah, my mom went to Africa. She pointed out everything that was culturally wrong with the Lion King. So in the Lion King, you have James Earl Jones voicing Mufasa, you have Madge Sinclair voicing the mom, you have Jason Weaver doing the singing voice, but then you have John Taylor Thomas doing the young Simba, and then Matthew Broderick doing the adult Simba. Now, I'm not saying that we had to have someone with some melon tone voicing Mufasa in 1994, but it's 1994, Mike. You're the casting director. You want to have a melon cast in The Lion King. So who would you have voicing Simba as an adult in 1994 if you were the casting director?
Wait, say again? Are you asking
So,
me?
yeah, it's you. So it's 1994. Who would you have voicing Simba, a melon actor in 1994, instead of Matthew Broderick?
Man, damn. Trying to think. In the 90s. Um, okay, so okay, all right. So
So
I'm not thinking about Mufasa. I'm thinking
let me
about
tell you what you think on. I tell you who I would have went with. Only because I think he could have pulled it off. I actually would have sprinted to Eddie Murphy, and I think given Eddie's celebrity where he was at, with that shift to family fare, and Mulan was still 4 years away. That was his first time. But I think with Madge Sinclair, rest in peace, James Earl Jones, rest in peace, already playing his parents, I think them together again would have been something special to see because the chemistry was already there. And yeah, I mean, you could have said Keith David, but I mean, voice actor at the time, I don't think that would have worked. You could have gone with possibly maybe Alfonso Ribeiro because he had that soft voice, but not a whole lot of
yes.
bass, and was
I'm
still
so
marketable
yeah,
enough to where it could have worked. I think Will wasn't there just yet to do
no,
voiceover work. And
no
again,
way.
I understand why they went with Matthew Broderick, but come on, Disney man, y'all could have gave us maybe the entire family. No, that's just my 45-year-old opinion. But Mike, who do you think they could have casted in '94 to do a voice the adult Mufasa if they didn't have, if it was an all melon cast?
Yeah, you said Alfonso. I thought that was actually not bad either. Now if you trying to think who was I'm trying because my mind is like who was young during that time of playing some, but okay, yeah, there's um what's his name? I'm totally drawing a blank. I'm drawing a blank. Um Drawing a blank. Wait, hold on, pull a picture up. There is. Lawrence Tate, I thought could have, yeah. Because he was also being a lot like he was playing a lot of like younger black men in
Yeah.
rom-coms and old school, black movies back in the day and everything. And I was like, okay, well, if you're trying to think of someone of a young man of a young or no boy becoming a man, I felt like he could have played that with his voice, and also voices doesn't have enough bass where you think, oh, it sounds like a 40-year-old or something like that, like he was in his 20s at that time. So, and everything. So I think, yeah, I thought he would probably been a good fit for Lawrence Tate. Yeah.
I mean, here's another pivot too. I mean, if you want just to have the somebody that could sing too, I mean, I'm showing some bias right here, but I would even possibly go on with Ralph Tresvant from New Edition because he could sing. He was in his mid, mid-20s. Is 94 still kind of
Yeah.
hot? I know we all know that Bobby Brown was supposed to do a Powerline in a Goofy movie, but yeah, I couldn't see Bobby playing Simba. Now, I'm a fan of New Edition through and through. But shout out to Matthew Broderick. No shade, homie. You're still MVP with Ferris Bueller and a couple other flicks, but yeah, Lion King, you voicing Simba still kind of suspect for me all these years later. Well, all right, folks. I hope you guys enjoy this dialogue I have with my man, Phi Beta Sigma man, Mr. Mike, Jedi Mike, one of my good screening partners. Known this man for 3, 4 years now, and it's good to finally have him on my platform. So, Mike, as always, I gotta let you blow up your platform. Where can fans find you on social media? And is there anything else you want to add?
I don't. Thank you for having me. This is fun, man, and everything. Again, like we know each other about like almost 3 or 4 years now. At this point, and yeah, I'm glad. And now seeing you, I met your son and your wife, several times and everything, and then like I'm at the point where I was a young man. Now I'm married and now working on having children and everything. So it's great to be around good fathers, and you are definitely one of them. I'm glad that even with the realm of cinema that we're talking about that, because again, films are very important to me and how they have impact culture and has influence. And I feel that the representation of good fathers in media definitely has improved over the years, but definitely we have a lot of ways to go, and especially pertaining to Black people and Black men representing fathers in media and television. So, yeah, thank you for having me. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, everywhere at Jedi Mike 7, brought to you by Sowell Media and everything. And yeah, and I'll hopefully come back or anything. It's a great conversation with you. And thank you for having me.
All right, folks, and to all my fathers out there, happy Father's Day. Enjoy your day. Y'all know as well as I do, man. We don't get as much love on Father's Day as they do on Mother's Day. So go get you a steak, watch the Knicks win it again if you DVR'd it, and just enjoy your day, fellas. Till the next time, Reviews and Done out.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Hi, this is Rihanna.
Hey, what's up? This is Ludacris.
For rocking with the best, it's Reviews and Done.